which is very significant but is not given its due importance by us. The idea that I am going to talk about is how India's development can be accelerated by making its population aware, educated and involved in law. All of us know that India is the largest democracy of the world. It is the youngest country and apparently it is going to be the fastest growing economy post-COVID. Facts that all of us should be very proud about. But despite of these feathers in its cap, India is still facing a lot of challenges in transforming itself from a developing to a developed country. Why is this so? What can be the causes for this lack of development? The causes that all of us are told about all the time are ineffectual economic policies, geographical disparity, lamentable state of industry and education, and political dysfunction. But these are only superficial, macro causes. These are only the negative outcomes of one underlying root cause. That root cause is the lawless behavior of the population. I'm sure all of you must have seen and identified this lawless behavior around you. Let me give you some examples that you can relate with. Not wearing helmets when you drive, parking your vehicles in no parking areas, wrong side driving, not paying your taxes, possessing and consuming drugs, and illegal constructions that go on. And the list can go on and on. So by and large, this lawless behavior includes large-scale flouting of laws by its population, lack of legal awareness and basic legal education in the population, and absence of involvement in law. Before telling you about this root cause in detail, let me first tell you about the meaning of law in brief. In these 4 years of my degree course, the meaning of law that I have understood, put simply, is that law is nothing but a framework of rules and regulations made to regulate the functioning of the society. India, being a democratic country, these framework of laws has been made by its own population for the Indian society. In spite of this, the Indian population is extremely ignorant about the laws of our land. Law is given an alien treatment and the Indian population always tries to run away from the law and avoid any contact with the legal provisions. So I just put a question to myself, why does the Indian population run away from the law? And the answer to this question, ladies and gentlemen, lies in the thought process or the way of thinking that has been taught to the Indian population since its ancient past. In the history of India, before the Mughal rule, the society was organized in a feudalist pattern. The rulers or the zamindars owned all state resources and the rest of the population, forming the majority, were treated as slaves who worked for the feudals unquestioningly. In this system of the society, the feudals, who were rich and belonging to an upper class, made social and cultural advancements, but the slaves, who were as it is suffering a lot and who belonged to a backward class, remained uneducated and socially and culturally backward. Due to this constant subjugation and exploitation from the rulers, the slaves, who were as it is suffering a lot, gave up their questioning power and started following the orders without any protest. The slaves did not have basic legal education or basic legal knowledge for a long span of time. The rulers changed the laws according to their whims and changed all the laws which did not serve their interests. This left the population confused and unaware about which laws were they being governed with. During this period and during the period of Mughal rule, where again there were no laws, punishments or rules for the population, the majority of the population molded their thought process. They programmed themselves to take orders from their superiors and follow those orders without asking for any explanation. The result of this was that the Indian population did not have basic legal education or basic legal awareness for a long span of time. After this came the British colonial rule. The Britishers had come to India with a primary motive of earning profits through trading. So after the decline of Mughals, when the British came to power, they framed laws that were favorable to their trading interests. One such law, or specifically one such policy, was the education policy designed by Lord Macaulay in 1835. The British, through this education policy, educated a microscopic Indian population in a hope that these Indians, educated in Western thought, would help them promote their rule in our country. By educating just a few Indians, the British again created a rift in the Indian population. On one hand were the elite Indian minority who were considered superior by the rest, and on the other hand were the uneducated Indian masses who had lost their voice and succumbed to the British superiority. This system of the society discouraged the development of Indians as they had given up on the scientific approach of thinking and had stopped asking why. In such a situation where the mass was extremely afraid of laws and legal authorities, Indian independence movement started taking shape. The population was told by the Indian leaders about how the laws in force were alien and oppressive to Indians. Many independence movements like the Salt Satyagraha were undertaken throughout India. These movements highlighted the power that civil disobedience movements possessed in fumbling the government. These movements were indeed significant in India's struggle for independence, but it is also important to understand that these movements led to another thought process in the Indian population, one in which they considered breaking the law to be a sign of strength and bravery. They admired the Indian leaders who broke British laws and considered this law-defying behavior to be an ideal. And let me point out a fact to you. In the last 5 minutes that I have been speaking, I have referred to the mindset of the Indian population for over a period of 500 years. 500 years is a huge span of time. It was for 500 years that the Indian population did not have basic legal education or basic legal awareness. It was for around 500 years that oppressive, unstable, exploitative laws were imposed on Indians, which imposed in them a never-ending fear about law. And it was for around 500 years that an alien law was imposed on the Indian population, which installed in their mind a never-ending fear about laws and legal authorities. At the end of these 500 years, India finally achieved independence in August 1947. With its independence, India encountered a lot of problems like low literacy levels, low health standards, mass-scale unemployment, etc. The leaders and politicians of that time fought tooth and nail to improve this tragic situation that India was in. And it is indeed due to the efforts of those politicians that we as a nation have come out of the state of underdevelopment. But again, the root cause of underdevelopment, which was the lawlessness of the population, was given secondary importance. The education system was not upgraded after independence. Education was made available to all, but the main motive of education was to make the population literate, not educated. The need of the time was to teach the population about the laws of our country. The need was to make them aware about their rights and duties and to convince them that law is an instrument to help them, not to harm them. It was a time to undertake a mass movement of teaching the population that the alien British laws have gone away. India has achieved independence. Breaking the law is not an ideal anymore. Now is the time when you have to follow the laws, because these laws are of the Indians, for the Indians, and made by the Indians. But the basic school curriculum did not even introduce law as a subject. The effect of this was, even after having brilliant laws in force in the country, the population was not using the laws. As time went by, the politicians understood that in a country like India, where the population was divided into diverse social groups, power can only be retained by appeasing or gratifying the voters. And the voters, who as it is had a disinclination towards law, started demanding for leniencies, concessions and pardons for their lawless behavior. By granting these concessions and pardons, what these power-hungry politicians did was that they not only appeased the voters, but in turn appeased the lawlessness in the country. This further intensified the belief of the Indian population that they can get away with flouting the law and the state will pardon this mass-scale lawlessness. And let me remind you, this lawless behavior has still not changed. Even today, the I will get away with flouting the law mindset or kuch jugaad to ho hi jayega attitude is still present in the Indian population. Before talking about the entire Indian population, let us all self-introspect for a moment. Can all of us present here claim that we have not broken a single law in our entire lifetime? Please raise your hands अगर आप डंके की चोट पर कह सकते हो कि मैंने आज तक कोई भी लॉ, फिर चाहे वो जितना छोटा हो या बड़ा, कभी नहीं तोड़ा. Look, not a single hand has gone up. This is exactly what I am talking about. The Indian population does not have an urge to abide by the law. हमारे अंदर से वो आवाज ही नहीं आती कि ये लॉ हमारा है और इसे हमें 100% फॉलो करना है. The total population of our country is 130 crores, out of which only 1% of the population pays income tax. Is it even possible that only 1% of the Indian population has an income above the tax threshold of 5 lakh rupees? You will be amazed to know an interesting fact that about 18 crore people buy two-wheelers every year in India. Now the basic scooters cost about 50,000 rupees and the more popular model costs about 60,000. So can it ever happen that a person whose income is less than 5 lakh rupees a year buys a scooter worth 50,000 or more? Does this math add up? No, and it will never add up, because the only thing that this highlights is that we don't pay our taxes. We run away from our legal duties. We search for loopholes in the system or do some jugaad so that we can run away from our legal duty. And I'm again telling you that this is not something impossible. Everyone in the population talks about how India was a country where har dal dal par sone ki chidiya karti thi basera, and how this prosperity was ruined by corrupt politicians and foreign rulers. But nobody in the population ever feels that if we start following our legal duties and if we start paying our taxes, वो सोने की चिड़िया तो ऐसे ही वापस आ जाएगी and the country will prosper like anything. And why this is not impossible is because Japan, another Asian country, is a great example for us. 55% of the Japanese population pays taxes. It is through this tax money that the Japanese government has made huge investments in industry and infrastructure and has transformed itself into a developed country. Japan is not blessed with an abundance of natural resources like India, but it has been blessed by a population which is extremely efficient, well educated and committed to the country's law. Everything that I have just said about the lawlessness of the Indian population is a bitter truth and an effect of mistakes committed in the past. Now nobody can go in the past and start a new beginning, but all of us can start today and make a new ending. My friends, all of us should now aim at the new ending of making India a developed country. This can only happen if we give up our lawless behavior and replace it with a law-abiding behavior. All of us should be a part of this revolution. Each one of us should start with accepting the fact that yes, we have committed a mistake by disobeying and not using the laws of our country, and we should change our thought process by being committed to the thought that abiding the law is the greatest patriotism and a sign of strength. The government can also contribute immensely to our revolution. In my opinion, this can be done in 3 easy steps. First, the government should educate the population in practical application of law. Second, stricter punishment should be imposed to discourage lawless behavior. And third, the law-abiding citizens should be encouraged and honored by giving them awards. Firstly, in education, what I mean is the practical application of law should be emphasized. What this means is, instead of teaching the students about the legal qualifications of being a president or making them rote learn the duties of the Prime Minister, what the education system needs to teach us about is basic legal knowledge like what is an affidavit and how to make one. I am sure all of you agree that we have to make at least one affidavit in our entire lifetime. For instance, for passport requirements or marriage proceedings or property disputes, etc. So if the education system starts teaching us about it, what this will do is it will increase legal awareness, it will increase involvement in law, and most importantly, people will stop running away from law and they will get involved in the legal processes. Secondly, the loopholes in the law should be reduced and stricter punishment should be imposed on the population to discourage lawless behavior. The conception in the minds of people that हम कुछ भी कर ले, law हमारा कुछ नहीं बिगाड़ सकता, needs to be changed. And to change this notion, stricter punishment should be imposed. What this will do is that it will feed a fear in the mind of people about law. They will start respecting the law and think twice before breaking it. Thirdly, awards. The news reports nowadays are filled with cases of gross flouting of laws by the politicians, businessmen, administrators, and my friends, we consider these people to be our heroes because of their professional success. And when these people start flouting with the laws and getting away with it, it creates an impression in the minds of common people that yes, this is the trend. और अगर वो कर सकते हैं तो हम क्यों नहीं कर सकते? And so, to discourage such behavior and to encourage the law-abiding citizens, awards should be provided to law-abiding citizens on a nationwide scale. This will change the belief of the society of looking at a law-abiding person as weak or timid and in turn portray the law-abiding citizen as an idol and hero. While I end my talk, I would just like to remind you that we have already lost 75 years in waiting for someone else to be the leader of the change. We have waited for 75 years for someone else to start this revolution for us. But now is the time for us to be the leaders of this revolution. Now is the time for us to follow the words of our great Bapuji, who said, "Be the change that you want to see in the world." So I request all of you to start this revolution with me right here, right now, by committing to the thought and taking an oath and saying that abiding the law is the greatest patriotism and a sign of strength, and that we will abide by all the laws of our country and we will inspire at least one person a month to be a part of our revolution.